Well, hello, EKN Nation. Welcome to a new edition of the EKN Debrief. It is our race report podcast, episode number 117. It is Monday, September the 11th, essentially a week away. We weren't able to get this done last week. And of course, the days that followed the 2023 Xtream Rock Island Grand Prix, the Labor Day Classic, of course, held each September in Rock Island, Illinois. We're not able to get quite to it. I was on the road. David was busy. Nate was on the road, kind of a deal. So it's all happening today. So my name is Rob Howden, joined by David Cole. We'll jump into this thing here. Today's show presented by DID Chain. Powered by technology, DID racing chains have a worldwide reputation for superior quality and reliability. A rich racing tradition where race results speak for themselves. DID prides itself on engineering the most technologically advanced chains on the market to help you excel on and off the track. Pick up a DID chain at your local dealer today, because when winning is the only thing that matters, go with DID. All right, David Cole, back at it for a new week here. I know it's a week on from Rock Island. You were there once again. Looked like you had a good time, some decent weather as well, which was good. But the bottom line is, 28 races in total? How many races in total have they done?
28th edition.
Wow. Man, that's crazy. Back in 1994, first couple editions, right? 94, 95, 96. Little break for some issues. Then back in 1998.
Yeah, and then an issue in 2020,
of course.
we all recall. And so third year running, 2021, 2022, 2023 this year. And yeah, as you said, weather was, that's always a question. I know many years it's had a rain. We had rain last year, rain another year, many other times before. 2003 comes to mind with a lot of rain.
Yep.
So rain's always kind of been a factor there. This time it wasn't. There was almost 0% chance of rain all weekend long, which is a rarity.
Nice.
For Rock Island Grand Prix weekend and Labor Day weekend there in the Quad Cities region. But you got to expect warm weather, and that's what happened. I mean, the skies were clear. There was not a cloud to be found. So the sun was just beating down on us all day long. So it felt warmer than 90 degree, about 91 degrees, I think was the high on Sunday, but it certainly felt warmer with not a break in the, with any clouds. So, but that, so that was a positive. The weather was great. So it helped bring some spectators in, because, if there's any threat of rain, they stay home. So that helped. No weather delays, so that's always a good positive as well too. So all in all, a good weather weekend for the Rock Island Grand Prix.
Let's just say this: it makes it easier on the mechanics and the teams as well, right? Anytime you're going back and forth between like a wet session and it's starting to dry, you're thrashing, you're putting on your wets, you're putting your dries back on. I always find that to be the worst weekends for the mechanics, when you're kind of going back and forth. So if you got a perfect weekend, upper 80s, low 90s, that from the mechanics, that's solid.
Yeah, but it's fun to watch that.
That's true. Listen, but we're on the sidelines, David. We're
on the side, but a street race, it would either you want it to be dry the whole weekend or you want it to be wet the whole weekend. Because, like you said, the going back and forth is a little bit more difficult. But you don't want it to rain too much, because then it starts flooding the streets, and then you gotta. That's the other side of it too. Because I will say, there's nothing like running Rock Island Grand Prix in the wet weather.
I loved it.
That's something that's unique compared to a regular racetrack in the wet. So that it does add a little different element, and it kind of bunches up the field a little more. And there's people who won't even do it in the rain. So, for us wild ones who love the rain, it's just better.
I ran Master Shifter in the rain. It was awesome. I had so much fun. Then you got to watch out for the crown of the road, because the cart just wants to rotate on you when you get over the hill, but over the side of the road. But man, I love that year in the rain. That was so much fun. Now, David, let's do the numbers as we always do in our debriefs here. 224 back in 2021, a dip below the 200 mark last year at 199, but they got back up over 10 more entries, but a 5% growth from last year. 209 entries was the final total. All told, a lot of categories, as we know. So many drivers, because of the way the kind of weekend rolls through. A lot of guys will do double duty. You were in more than one category for the first time, I think, this year as well, running in the Ignite Senior 1, 2, and Ignite Masters classes. Overall, did it feel like a solid event still? Again, over 200 entries?
Well, you got drivers who are running 9, 6.
True.
So that's kind of the downside. I think it's less than 100 racers. So that's when you look at it over that.
Yeah.
I don't have the exact figure on it, but I want to say somewhere around 70 to maybe 80, give or take a few. So yeah, I ran the Ignite, all three Ignite categories in 2019. So that I did both senior classes and masters. And it's better to do it that way because of course you're getting more track time. And that's really what it boils down to is I'm able to get 6 practice sessions in over the course of the 2 rounds of practice rather than just 2.
No doubt. Yeah.
So that certainly helps that. And that's why a lot of people do the multiple categories to get more seat time. You also have the double finals for categories such as Ignite, Briggs Heavy, Briggs Medium, and then a couple categories. You have your King of the Rock categories, but also the regular categories. So those will be double dipping as well too. So yeah. When you look across the board, the entries are very similar to what we had last year and the year before that. Certainly the drop off has been in King of the Streets. We only had 5 drivers in that category, which is kind of a shame.
It is a shame.
We're starting to see an uptick again in shifter kart racing here in the US. So maybe we'll see something like that. But again, I think it boils down to when you look at across the board, in terms of the racers that go there, we're seeing a different type of generation coming up through the sport of karting where, you look at the racers who race Rock Island, they'll race anything. They'll jump in anything and they'll do it, whether it be karts, cars, anything. It's almost like the no fear aspect of our sport. And so that's, I think, what we're seeing a decline in, because we've seen street racing still going on in Ohio and Indiana, but we're just not, those numbers were dwindling as well too. So I think that's kind of part of it. So, maybe we got to start gearing towards getting the 20 somethings who, aren't racing at the national level, maybe doing regional racing, maybe at the club. Those are kind of the people I think Rock Island Grand Prix needs to kind of pinpoint and start working on rather than trying to get national racers in. I don't think the national racers, because again, all of them are under the age of 18.
They're all tapped out too.
And they're all tapped out. Exactly. Luckily for some racers, they were able to be here because there wasn't anything scheduled on top this year around. Last year, we saw that with the whole race versus chase situation. Yep. So, there's just a lot of different factors. I'm working on a column that I hope to get done. It's just like there's not enough hours in the day to be able to write what I want to say. So just a lot of ideas because I think now, when you're looking at numbers wise, there's got to be a change or something's got to kind of give and not really focus on the numbers, but kind of focus on the event itself.
Yeah. I understand where you're coming from. And it's interesting because like we said, you look at some of the numbers, this is our by the numbers segment. So, Briggs 206 heavy at 21, their second category offer was at 14. You've got Briggs 206 medium at 17. Their two was at their second offering was 16. 206 Masters was 14. The Ignite classes, there was like 13 drivers in the Ignite senior class when we've seen 20 plus. There was 10 in the Masters category. Just a couple of years ago, we were at 12. David, you mentioned the shifter stuff, which we are seeing a return of a bunch more shifter drivers, but we're seeing it mostly on the national level, right? Whether it's the SCUSA Pro Tour, USPKS, the Stars Championship, where those drivers are running so many races throughout the year. Other regional programs, there was 5 in open shifter, 5 in open shifter masters, just 5 in King of the Streets, as you said. The bottom line is, I think, to cap off this deal is there any way to bring some of the big teams back, right? Especially when it comes to shifter kart drivers, that's where the shifter karts are growing right now. They're growing on the national level, and we saw Andrew Bedozo there with the Magic guys. What's it take for PSL karting to say, you know what, we're going to come to Rock Island this year and we're going to rock this thing and we're going to bring 6 guys. Let's bring our whole crew. See if Martin Kremers or Hunter Pickett can put a rock on their resume. Is that something that's even a possibility?
Well, I think you have to have the right conversations for one, but you also have to have a schedule that works. And that, looking at, 2023 Labor Day weekend was an off weekend for a lot of these big major teams that go across the country. And, PSL, because since you brought it up, they're in Canada. So they have races in Canada that are keeping them nonstop busy. Because as the Canada schedule is just locked and loaded from May to September.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of racing that's going on. So I think I think you're going to have to look at some of the smaller teams. Magic Kart USA, they're not a massive team like that. And they're not focused solely on kids. And I think those are the teams maybe that you can start directing towards. We had Hardin Motorsports Group there for a number of years, but they've kind of stepped away from the sport a little bit because of just the way things have gone. But maybe focus on the smaller teams. I think Billy Musgrave somebody quoted him that week during the weekend is, it was fun, but I'll never go back. So factory carts being there would have been a great idea too.
Agreed. Yep.
But you have to have the right drivers as well too. And I think that's where the focus needs to be, where there's a lot of focus around the Briggs categories. I think that's great, but I think there could be kind of a push to the 100cc side of things, because now that everybody's kind of pretty much on the same engine package, whether it be, the KA or even bringing the VLR in if they want to.
Yep.
I think that's the category we can start to see growing into bigger numbers.
Cool.
Because we already know the numbers are out there for Briggs 206 racers. It's a matter of getting the racers to come and race it.
Yep.
I think we have numbers now in, there's plenty of Masters drivers that are racing 100cc. So maybe do we add KA, a senior or Masters 100cc category?
You're right.
To kind of entice them to come, where they could do senior and master, and even if they wanted to, King of the Rock 100 as well too. Because again, I think that type of generation, those 30 and above, are more likely to come race Rock Island because of the fun on and off the racetrack, but also because they understand it and they're a little bit more crazy than the younger generation.
All right, folks, let's continue on with this edition of our EKN Debrief, episode number 117. We're going to do a deep dive into the Rock Island Grand Prix, which happened on Labor Day weekend. When we get back after this break, we're going to dive into the Paddock Pass. That'll be next up. David will give us a bunch of the information away from the race report. Ready to step up your game? Joining the Rawlison Performance Group is the obvious choice to take your racing to the next level. Industry-leading driver development is provided by our staff of multi-time national champions, Super Nationals winners, and Team USA members. And at the same time, RPG continues to be a national-level powerhouse race team. Our goal is to help you raise your game and win races. We work with all age groups and are focused on developing those cadet and junior drivers who are ready to take the next step in their racing program. Rawlison Performance Group has set a new standard with our in-house engine program, AVP Engines, headed by Alex Vincent. AVP has become the benchmark in IAME competition. We have the largest OTK inventory that follows our race team, providing trackside parts at all the major events in North America. RPG also offers multilingual support with French, Spanish, and Portuguese-speaking staff. If you want to fight for championships or want to improve your skills and your chances to win, the answer is to call RPG at 503-260-4514. The Rawlison Performance Group. We race to win.
OpenFender.com is a way for racers like you to raise money to reach your racing goals. I'm founder Mason Filippi of the world's first motorsports funding platform. As a racer, I know that there's a lot we do behind the scenes before hitting the track. Driving fast, winning races comes after a lot of prep, practice, and let's face it, a lot of money. The good news is that fans and sponsors want you to win. They want to help you and be part of your team. That's why I created OpenFender.com, to get these supporters funding your dreams and getting you across the finish line. In a few minutes, you can set up a profile, share it on your socials, and encourage fans and sponsors to boost your racing. Racers using OpenFender are averaging over $1,000 per campaign. This is money that's buying them parts, paying fees, and getting them to the next level. Join OpenFender now and start funding your performance.
Hey there, my name is Dion Bobmoltka, and I grew up karting and was fortunate enough to one day achieve my dream of becoming a professional race car driver. Looking back at my career, the most fun I had was in karting, but it was also one of the most challenging times of my career too. I often found myself craving expert guidance from someone who had been there before, that had done it and knew the right path forward, but it just wasn't available. And that's why I created Blaze Coaching. It's a platform designed to ensure every driver has the chance to learn from the best, from those who have faced the challenges and know what it takes to become a champion in our sport. Just imagine being coached by 2023 Indy 500 winner Joseph Newgarden, or Indy 500 front row qualifier Spencer Pigot, or how about Acura factory driver Ricky Taylor? They're all here as coaches on Blaze, ready to help you along your path. It's designed to meet you where you are, so no matter what your experience level is, where you race, what you race, or what your goals are, your Blaze coach is there to help. Are you ready to unlock your potential? Visit blaze.io/karting today. That's BLAYZE.io/karting.
Welcome back to the EKN Debrief. It is episode 117. We are talking about the Rock Island Grand Prix this past Labor Day weekend. It's September 11th right now. So let's jump now into the Paddock Pass. Rob Howden alongside David Cole here. Paddock Pass presented by Franklin Motorsports. Franklin Motorsports is a leader in the karting industry with over 50 years of combined karting experience, and they can provide you with everything you need to go racing. With a large online product selection, select track support events, and a wide variety of shop services, Franklin Motorsports is your complete karting source. They specialize in IAME engines, tilt seats, and of course, their championship-winning Merlin chassis. They've been supplying racers with start-to-finish support at race events for years, from providing a helping hand on a weekday test outing or at a club event, to full arrive and drive packages at the highest level of karting competition. For all things karting, visit franklinkart.com. All right, David, you were the one that was trackside all weekend long with both coverage and some time behind the wheel. Let's jump into the Paddock Pass. What do you got from this year's Rock Island Grand Prix?
Well, one thing is getting to Rock Island, Illinois. It certainly looked a little different when we got to the hotel and walking around the paddock and racetrack. There was last year, for those who saw some pictures, there was no building at Turn 6. That was one of the big changes that we saw last year. Well, now there's a new building constructed. It's not completed yet. So last year we had a lot of problem with dust and dirt getting blown onto the racetrack between turns 5 and 6. So not as much this year, thankfully, with an actual building being there, but there was still dirt around it. It's still under construction, but so made it look a little different. But the biggest change was the new parking lot by the hotel. The parking structure was demolished and they just put in a regular parking lot. So that kind of helped things out. And that's one thing Rock Island, if you've seen on social media, they're really looking at pouring in a lot of money into revitalizing the downtown area. So nice. Hopefully that'll be coming. Nothing's really changed other than that building and the parking lot. But, hopefully the plans that are in place will be changed. They did change up that Goodyear building that we are at the start finish line a little bit. So it looks like they're going to try and start utilizing that building as well too. I know there's just a lot of buildings that seem to be abandoned
okay.
from when we first started going to the Rock Island Grand Prix. So hopefully their revitalization is at the beginning process and will continue, and we'll keep going back and seeing big changes.
What about the track, David? I know that you mentioned when you and I were kind of chatting a little bit throughout the weekend. Of course, I was out in Portland for the finale of the USF Pro Championships. You talked about the track being a little more narrow than it was last year, or at least in years past.
Yeah, if you watched my 1 minute flats Saturday morning and at the end of Saturday, after getting on track and racing, the track was narrowed up a bit in certain spots. 1, 2, 3. Maybe not so much, maybe 5 a little bit more. But other than that, I think the only ones that stayed the same were the right-hander and turn 6. So those were about the only ones that stayed about the same. Really, it's my next point. It kind of goes hand in hand because they're focusing on spectator safety. The insurance companies are really focused on making sure that spectators are safe. So now there's kind of a distance they want the track barriers and the fencing to be. So they're trying to find that happy medium. And so that helped to narrow up the exits on a lot of the corners. When you're looking at turn 1 and turn 2, That's and turn 5. Those are kind of the spectator areas that are visited a lot. So those exit points were moved in a little bit narrower than in years past.
Okay.
So that was kind of the biggest change, and spectator safety. That's what we keep hearing from a lot of events. A lot of the street races in Ohio and Indiana have been gone now because of the insurance issues. So that's an ongoing thing, and we're going to have to keep kind of monitoring that and how the sport handles it, and ways to continue street racing and keeping it going and alive.
Yeah, and the bottom line is, how many times have we said this before, right? And people talk about street racing. It's taking the sport to the people, right? When you're not out at some track somewhere, and we love our tracks, but the beauty of a street circuit is bringing a lot of the public out to watch and kind of putting our sport on display. So whatever we can do to keep these street races going, I think it's a big thing for karting in general.
Yeah, and that's kind of been Rock Island's goal. They amped up their social media campaign throughout 2023. So it's good to see them, getting out of the 1900s and getting into 2000s with that. Because again, they got to continue to keep getting people interested in it. Obviously being a free event, spectators can just walk up and be part of it, but they still have to introduce those people to the sport. And there was actually people from a lot of different states that were there watching that. I heard Jay kind of interview as he went around the racetrack here and there. Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, of course, and Illinois, but other states as well too. So that's good. But yeah, it's just bringing the event to people is certainly going to help our sport, and it's almost it's kind of like advertising. It's not free advertising because again, these events cost a lot of money to put on. But it's always good to get the sport in front of people so they don't have to go far to see it. And
that's it.
That's, I think, one thing that they're going to try and work on doing. Corey Simpson's working with Rock Island Grand Prix. He's going to put in probably, I think he said $25,000 over the next 5 years to try and help revitalize the event both on and off the racetrack. That was always one of the things we talked about is the off-track stuff, the fun stuff, getting locals down there and watching, and they got to have a reason aside from the racing, I think, to really go down there. So, the concerts and all this other stuff that hopefully will be in the plans. We'll see.
No doubt about it. All right, lots going on. David giving us a good insight there in the Paddock Pass, brought to you today by Franklin Motorsports. When we get back from this quick break, time to jump into the race report. We'll start with King of the Streets. We'll look at King of the Rock, and of course, wrapping up the King categories with King of the Rock 100cc. When we get back, we'll get into the race report. All over the karting world, everyone knows OTK is the gold standard for quality and performance. In the US, OTK USA is the source for all things OTK. From the legendary Tony Kart brand to the race-winning Cosmic and Xtream chassis, and now the new Red Speed and EOS brands, OTK quality is second to none. All 5 brands are winning races and championships across the country in national programs like the Rock Cup USA Florida Winter Tour and the Challenge of the Americas, the SCUSA Pro Tour and Winter Series, and the Pro Kart Challenge, the United States Pro Kart Series, and the WKA Manufacturers Cup. And OTK products are also front and center on the podium of club and regional races from coast to coast. To learn more about a specific product line, you can find the OTK USA dealer near you, whether it's Tony Kart, Cosmic, Xtream, Red Speed, or EOS. Visit www.otkusa.com. Specific chassis territories are still available, so kart shops interested in adding a winning component to their product lineups can contact OTK USA directly. For over 20 years, Greg Bell has been building race-winning power for kart racers. One need only look at his team, Leading Edge Motorsports. He's always built engines for his team, and the results have been wins at the biggest races in America, the SCUSA Super Nationals and the Rock Vegas events. The name on this program? Mega Power. This year alone, Bell and Danny Formel teamed up to sweep the Rock Shifter class on the Florida Winter Tour, all on a Mega Power engine. If you want to win shifter kart races, it's time to put Mega Power on your kart. Mega Power specializes in gearbox engines, such as the TMKZ, Rock Shifter, and IME Shifter, but with almost 3 decades of engine building experience, Bell develops winning motors for X30 and Mini Swift and everything in between. The combination of Greg Bell's engine building skills and his chassis tuning knowledge is a potent mixture. Greg's helped catapult many drivers to wins over the years, including Mercedes F1 star George Russell, who won the Supernats 14 in 2011 with Leading Edge Motorsports. Increase your odds of winning at this year's Rock Vegas or Supernational events or throughout 2023 by calling Greg Bell today at 209-747-2613 to put Mega Power in your corner. Cometic Gasket is a leading worldwide supplier of gaskets and engine sealing solutions for karting, automotive performance, power sports, original equipment, and the remanufactured engine industries. Cometic karting gaskets are available as OE replacement top-end kits or as individual gaskets and seals. Just like competitive karters, Cometic can operate on the fly and has the unique capability to customize any gasket to meet specific engine requirements and clearances. All of Cometic's fiber materials are asbestos-free and do not require any additional sealants. Viton oil ring cylinder head seals are used in each 2-cycle kit, and Cometic's 4-cycle engine kits feature only the most advanced multi-layer steel head gaskets. Cometic can tailor to engine builder-specific needs through bulk ordering and packaging flexibility. Cometic gaskets are must-haves for championship-winning teams across multiple disciplines of both professional and amateur motorsports. Cometic Gasket, sealing championships since 1989. Welcome back to episode 117 of the EKN Debrief as we take a deep dive into the Rock Island Grand Prix, this past Labor Day weekend's event, the 28th running of this tremendous race, a bucket list event for certain. Jumping now into the race report segment, we'll start things off with all 3 of the King categories. The race report today brought to you by CRG Nordam. CRG is one of the most iconic brands in karting, and we're primed and ready with new material and a never-ending focus on winning. CRG Nordam is the North American distributor for all CRG products. Based outside Houston, Texas, CRG Nordam supports CRG dealers across the continent, reaching every corner of North America. Check out the new CRG KT5 for tag and shifter racing, the Black Mirror for cadet competition, and the FS4 for Briggs. Longtime CRG drivers will be happy to know that the CRG Road Rebel, the standard in quality and performance, is still available. For more information on the CRG product line, head to www.kartcrg.com, and to inquire about a North American dealer near you, please email us at info@kartcrg-nordam.com. All right, David, CRG Nordam rolling this for us here right now. You were on the Margay this weekend. You'll be on the CRG for the Cup Karts North America Grand Nationals in about a month's time, a little less than that. But let's jump in now to King of the Streets. The tough thing is to kind of roll them with the fact they only had 5 entries. We mentioned that already. Defending winner Andrew Bedozo back once again, having won in 2021 and 2022. So you're going to talk about the fact that the streak was extended. But it's cool to look back to some of the names who are the previous winners at this race. Just talking about how big this event has been to so many people over the last couple of decades.
Yeah, Alan Rudolph, you have to start with him. He wasn't the first to win the King of the Streets, and he was, as the event wasn't held at Rock Island Grand Prix over the first 2 years, because it was Joe Janowski winning King of the Streets in Oklahoma.
That's it.
And then Alan Rudolph at the Quincy Grand Prix the year after that. So Rudolph actually has the most wins at Rock Island Grand Prix King of the Streets, dating back to 2000. So he won back-to-back those years, and then 2006 and 2007. He was one of the focused videos that Rock Island Grand Prix put on for their interviews and videos leading up to the event, which he has the Rock Island meeting room at the Speed Sports Racing Park. I got to go there. He's got a couple of the Rock trophies in there as well too. I didn't see the RBI cart though. That was I think that still literally was in his garage, and then he brought it to the racetrack for that video. So that was really cool to see.
Scott Speed, also a winner. Alex Speed, of course, Speed Concepts Racing. Other winners, Jordan Musser, a 3-time winner. Kyle Wiegand, 3-time winner. Raymond Rossetti, the Canadian. Austin Wilkins came up from Texas. Rory Vanderster, Race Liberante have won as well. But David, again, Andrew Berdozo has won the last couple of years, came out of the gate, qualified on pole, and really was the guy to beat, I think, all weekend long, right?
Yeah, he was the driver that was setting the pace. 32.489 was his lap in qualifying. It was about 0.2 slower than last year's lap. So that kind of goes with the narrowness of the racetrack. But of course, as the weekend goes along, the rubber starts getting laid down. So it gets a little bit grippier and a little bit better. So I believe his lap time got a little bit better as the weekend went along. But still, he was the driver to beat, led wire to wire in the main event. Scott Sketchy Barnes was his top rival throughout the weekend. Barnes finished second in the heat race and was trying to stay up with him, but just caught the barriers a little bit too much, and off the track he went on lap 8. And that allowed Budozo to go on to a 16-second margin of victory for his third straight King of the Streets title, with a best lap time of 32.610. So not quite better. So obviously a little tire degradation there, but still pretty fast to be only 0.2 off the qualifying time.
No doubt. Joe Rook was there as well, finishing in second. Ryan Berkey. Is that Berkey? Is that what you say?
Berkey. Yeah, Berkey.
Right. Ryan Berkey in third. You say Barnes was out. Pinozzo was out as well. Was there another driver? Did not.
Yeah, Pinozzo. Yeah, Oscar Pinozzo was out as well too. So just 3 drivers. Yeah, just 3 drivers there running at the end.
You mentioned earlier Budozo. We talked about it. The fact that he's won 3. First driver to win 3 straight King of the Streets event at Rock Island. Rudolph won 3 in a row as well. But as David had mentioned earlier, 1999, part of the Quincy Grand Prix, Quincy in the Park, and then followed it up with a couple of wins in 2000, 2001 at Rock Island. So nonetheless, Andrew Berdozo, one of those drivers who you could easily see excel because he hangs it all the time, knows how to drive on the edge. And kudos to Andrew Berdozo and the Magic Kart USA crew for coming away with the victory. 5 in King of the Streets, but David, 23 in total in the King of the Rock 206 class. Defending winners include Drake Ostrom and Michael Dittmer, who was the guy to step up today or this past weekend.
Sorry, a typo there. It was actually 27. It was the largest class
of
the weekend. So yeah, it was a good field. The problem, and this is a little side comment, the weights are just too fucking high. Oops, sorry.
Woo.
Yep, sorry. Woo.
They're super
kids
high.
Listening.
What were they?
It's still 390. It's 390 for this category,
man.
and again,
365.
We gotta lower these weights. It really, because every single cart on that grid has weights, and it's like, why? Why are we doing this? So that's going to be the off-season push from October to December to get all these organizations to start looking at their weights. I know we've said it year after year.
We do,
but we got to do it because if we're looking at safety, that's a number one safety issue. Is these carts are getting way too heavy for even corner workers to pick up, and just they're like missiles going into some of these corners. So anyway, racing qualifying led by Connor Lunn. So one of the former multi-time Rock Island Grand Prix winner set fast time in qualifying, which is again the King format. So they do qualifying and a heat race on Saturday. But in the heat race, it kind of showed who the drivers were going to beat, the ones to beat. That was Chase Jones, Race Liberante. They were pretty much the class of the field and were able to get away in that heat race. But come main event time, it was actually Chase Jones getting caught up with Justin Wishard as they were able to run nose to tail. I know Liberante was there for about a couple laps in the lead, and then he got shuffled back, and then Chase Jones and Justin Wishard just kind of hooked up and got away from the rest of the field as they kept fighting behind him. It was a really good fight because you kind of had the leaders and you had a second group and then you kind of had a third group that was all kind of right there, all within, probably 2 seconds of one another. So good racing going on. Basically it boiled down to, the top 2 away. And Wishard tried to make a pass on the last lap, but lap traffic got in the way, slowed him up. Didn't allow him to make the move. That gave the win to Chase Jones as he would take his first King of the Rock 206 victory.
Yeah, not by much, David. 0.07 of a second? Wow.
Yeah, 77,000th at the line. It was, Wisher made that last bold move to try and get there at the line. As you know, you come off 6. If you can get a good enough run, I'd almost think Jones maybe went defensive into the last corner, which kind of helped that as well too.
Yeah,
but
right.
There was a lot of close finishes like that. Again, you almost say if the start finish line was down about 50 more feet, it could be a different scenario.
Agreed. We've said that many times. Yeah. So Jones with the win, Wishart in second, Ostrom, London, Liberante round out the top 5 in the King of the Rock 206. Some of the same names though, David, right in the middle of King of the Rock 100cc as well.
Yeah, Wishart is actually the defending winner. Race Liberante winning in 2021. So those are two drivers in the field looking to be a 2-time winner. Chase Jones, however, had different ideas. He set fast time in qualifying with a 34.955 lap time, just ahead of Liberante and Talon Drake from North Carolina. So actually had a driver coming up all the way from North Carolina. So that was good.
Nice.
In the heat race, again, Chase versus Race, or Race versus Chase, however you want to say it. It was those two drivers out front and away. And same thing in the main event. They just were able to just have a little bit more pace than the rest of the field. And those two just kind of went back and forth. It was a great show. This was one of the earlier races in the day. It was a 4th race out on the racetrack, and they just kind of went back and forth.
Nice.
For the lead. In the final 2 laps, they just kind of pushed each other to get away from the rest of the field and set it up for the last 2 laps. And Jones was able to make the move on Liberante. Liberante tried to go back. I want to say we went back and forth every corner on the last lap, and it was Jones that was able to pull off the victory, getting Liberante on the final corner to take what was his first rock on the day, but his second overall on the event.
Yeah, great run in the King of the Rock events for Chase Jones. Again, the margin of victory 0.139, so less than 0.2 of a second at the line over Liberante. Charlie Moore coming home in 3rd, Justin Wishart in 4th, and Riley Scott working his way up into the top 5. So there's your updates, your reports on the King of the Rock events. When we get back, we'll go 206 heavy 1 and 2, and 206 medium 1 and 2. And we'll wrap that up with 206 masters as well. So 5 more categories to come after this break. In karting, it's important to be supported by the right people. With over 40 years of experience in the sport, Trinity Karting Group has everything you need to make your program successful. We do it all, and we do it right. Trackside support and arrive and drive programs at many of karting's biggest East Coast events, full product sales and service, and professional coaching from our experienced staff. Trinity Karting Group is a full-service operation based at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, which gives us access to our custom-designed driver training facility. This allows us to offer private one-on-one coaching to take you to the next level. From arrive and drive and coaching programs to the parts you need, let Trinity Karting Group provide you with customer service and a racing experience second to none. Trinity Karting Group is an official Kart Republic race team, providing full trackside support at all the major USA karting events, including the SCUSA Pro Tour, United States Pro Kart Series, SCUSA Super Nationals 25, and other events throughout the 2022 season. TKG has in stock Kart Republic, IAME, MG and Avinco tires, and more products for those in Ohio and the Midwest region. Trinity Karting Group has a long history of the sport, a winning pedigree, and we're dedicated to driver development. We take pride in our professional approach and our positive attitude. Let us build a custom race program for you. Give us a call at 513-421-4463 or check us out online at trinitykartinggroup.com. It all started in 1994 when former successful kart driver Albino Parolin decided to move his passion for karting from the track to his small workshop. That's when Parolin was born. Fast forward 20 years and Parolin's passion for the sport led to the company rejoining international competitions as a factory team in WSK and CIK FIA races, with the aim of enhancing the research and development process, immediately achieving notable results around Europe, North America, and Asia, becoming the CIK FIA Asia Pacific KZ champion in the same year. Parolin USA is North America's source for Parolin products, We run a factory team at all of the major Superkarts USA and Rock Cup USA events. The Parolin chassis lineup for 2021 includes the Invader Shifter, the Le Mans Tag single-speed chassis for junior and senior classes, and the 28mm mini kart for the cadet classes. Parolin has been winning races all over the world, and it's on top of the podium in the USA as well, with drivers like Kai Sorensen, Mateus Orjuela, and Alessandro De Tullio. Get on the chassis that's winning. Drive a Parolin. For more information, head to ParolinUSA.com. Top-level production with a focus on a single form of motorsport, karting. This is MG Tires. MG Tires USA, underneath the Vantage Karting Group banner, is the official distributor of the MG Tires brand for the United States. MG Tires are the official spec tire in the US Pro Kart Series, Route 66 Sprint Series, Sunshine State Karting Challenge, and countless clubs across the country. No matter your compound preference, MG Tires USA has you covered. Whether it's the medium SH Red or the soft SM Yellow that you find at many karting events in the US, or the super soft green SS and the intermediate white IZ optional compounds, MG Tires USA has your winning set of rubber in stock. Indoor and outdoor rental facilities can now trust MG Tires with their solution to long-lasting and the best performance with 3 different compounds available through the RL line. For more info about MG Tires USA and its extensive list of dealers near you, check out their website at mgtiresusa.com. MG Tires, for the drivers. And we are back here on the EKN Radio Network. Rob Howden alongside David Cole for episode 117 of our EKN Debrief. David Cole, who was trackside at the Rock Island Grand Prix this past Labor Day weekend, giving us an update on all the action that took place. We're going to go 206 for this next segment, go heavy, medium, and masters. David, we'll start with the 206 heavy 1 class. We'll go heavy 1, and then the second running heavy 2 as well. 21 drivers running the single category, 14 doing the double duty. Connor Lund, defending winner. We mentioned Connor already. He won last year in 2022. Also won, 8 years earlier in 2014. So Connor's been at many Rock Island events, defending winner coming in, and looks like he was pretty good coming out of the gate as well.
Yeah, was able to grab the heat race win, just edging out Drake Ostrom for the victory in that race on Saturday. Come Sunday, however, this was the only other category that Race Liberante and Chase Jones were in, aside from the King of the Rock category. They just ran 4 classes each. So this was their 206 class that they ran aside from the Rock race. And again, they just partnered up and was able to get away from the field. It was actually Jerry Fandry who led early, but a DNF. He got shuffled back into the fight for third, and he actually DNF'd on the last lap and was unable to continue the rest of the weekend. But up front, it was Race versus Chase, and this one actually went to Race Liberante. It was the first race of the weekend. It was also the Travis DeVrent Memorial event. This was a race that he won in 2021 when he came for the first time, racing aboard that MPG black and gold kart. If you remember seeing some of the pictures of that,
I do. Yeah.
It was so this became his second time winning in 3 years, the Travis DeVrent Memorial race, beating out Chase Jones by 1/10 of a second with another great battle between those two.
Yeah, other winners, kind of the who's who of the event, right? You got Gary Lawson winning a couple of times, Cal Stewart, Tony Nielsen as well. Liberante winning by just over 1/10 from Jones, as you had said. Drake Ostrom came home in 3rd, Jeff Dolian in 4th, and Michael Dittmer, P5, with the fastest lap of the race. So Dittmer had the speed, but ended up P5. And listen, David, it happens all the time, right? When you get a couple of drivers working together and they're not racing each other and they get a bit of a gap and the guys behind race, how many times have we seen 2-3 guys pull away because of the fight behind them?
Yeah, I mean, that's it. You know, it in a way, Rock Island is almost in the Briggs category. It's almost like a Daytona Talladega scenario where if you keep in the draft and you keep pushing away, you're going to be able to kind of set the tone and set the pace for the end of the race. Well, if you keep going back and forth, it just it brings in a lot more people and makes it for a little bit more interesting race at the end there.
We'll go to the second category for 206 heavy, 14 entries in total. Riley Scott winning last year. Michael Dittmer, Tony Nielsen, Mike Welsh, Cal Stewart, all previous winners of the 206 Heavy 2 category. But anytime that Tony Nielsen rolls out, he's going to be a driver to beat. Looks like he was the guy, at least up front, David, in the heat race, just outgunning Wishart for P1 on the pole for the main.
Yeah, he was able to do that, but it was a different story come on Sunday for the main event. A lot of drivers that were kind of bunched there together, as we said, and it was actually led by Mick Gabriel. He was able to jump up ahead of everybody early on. Again, they kind of, I don't have the grids because they do passing points. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
He picked to where you start. Passing points helps change the order for the grid for the main event. So I don't know exactly where Mick Gabriel started. I'm assuming he was up probably 6th or 7th, but a good start. He was able to lead majority of the race and had a little bit of a gap there as he took the white flag going into turn 1. Heading into turn 2, however, he went defensive. Michael Dittmer sitting there in second, got a good push from behind. A lot of drivers were behind him, giving him a good push. Well, Gabriel went defensive, and then Gabriel decided to do the right, left, right kind of move, which threw him off completely. Dittmer basically had to slam on the brakes to not shove him completely off into the barriers. Gabriel went off into the wall as they went through the corner, and that was it. Dittmer was right there to take the position and the lead, and was able to hold off the field at the line by 92 thousandths of a second to gain his second victory in this category.
Yeah, well done for Michael Dittmer, Ostrom, Wishart, Lund, and Nielsen rounding out the top 5 in that category. Tough one for Mick Gabriel leading that last lap. You always hope to get back to the checker first to put that rock on the trophy trophy case, but not so much for Mick Gabriel on that day. Dave, let's go to the medium category, a little lighter class than the drivers up there in the 206 heavy class. Medium had 17 drivers. We mentioned that Riley Scott was a defending winner in heavy 2 last year. He was also a defending winner last year in this 206 medium 1 category. Other winners, Gary Lawson, Tony Nielsen, Cal Stewart, Connor Lund. You're hearing a theme of guys that have won up front. Tony Nielsen, in fact, has won this race, I think, 6 times in total. So definitely a guy to beat for sure, just like he did in the 206 medium or heavy 2. Was able to win the heat race. But again, who ended up coming out with the race win?
Yeah, this is the original Briggs & Stratton 206 class that started in 2012. The one I raced at that, we got an engine, pulled it out of the box, put a clutch on it and raced it. So yeah, this is the original class. And, Nielsen's got 4 victories in this category alone and was the heat winner. He was among the early leaders along with Mick Gabriel and Michael Dittmer. Dittmer, however, was able to get the lead towards the end of the race. Nielsen was sitting there second. I think he tried to make a move and just put himself in the wall, unfortunately ending his race and his chance at winning a 5th in this category. That allowed Dittmer to just run off to the finish line. A class he entered on Thursday. Wasn't scheduled to run medium 1 because, again, we're little heavy guys that race masters and heavy categories. But, he had a new cart that he got, new Comet Eagle, and decided to add the medium category in and get more seat time. And it paid off by getting another rock for his mantle.
Yeah, 12 in total for Michael Dittmer, now tied for 3rd overall with Tim Getch in this 206 medium class. Dave, I think this is the only time you and I have ever raced Rock Island in the same category before. I think, right?
That was 2013 when Gary Lawson whooped our asses.
He did. Yeah. I will say that was one of the most fun races I've had because I was in that group. I think we were in the lead like 6 or 7, maybe 8 guys up front, and I was the only guy that didn't have the nose cone. Everybody else had the big cow catcher, and I'm like, what did I do wrong?
Cowboy Cal.
Yeah.
Cowboy Cal. He was a little bit better than you. He was just up ahead of you.
He was, and I was racing with I think Sketchy Barnes and I were going at it quite a bit there too. But yeah,
Barnes,
I was like, I was the best finisher without a front nose, without the big nose in the front. I'm like, I've chosen poorly.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I think Cowboy Cal did put one on. That's true.
I think he did put one on. Yeah.
He cheated. We call that the cheater nose, right?
That's the rule. You can run it.
Here, I can tell you exactly what you finished.
I think I finished 7th or 8th.
8th. Yeah, it was.
I think Sketchy Barnes got me near the end.
Cal Stewart 6th, Sketchy Barnes 7th. You were 8th. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, I just didn't with the way I didn't have the pace coming out of the end of the straightaways a bit, right?
I had a better fast lap than you, by the way.
You did have a better fast lap than me. Had you qualified better, You wouldn't have started the
those damn carbs. Those damn carbs, I tell you what, man.
16 entries in 206 medium 2. Ashton Wheeler, the defending race winner. Mick Gabriel, we mentioned him not getting the other rock up in the class we just talked about. He did win this class back in 2021, a couple of years ago. Riley Scott, a winner as well. Ostrom, David, though, the driver out of the gate in the heat race, beating Wishart and Wheeler. But again, we talked about Gabriel not getting that rock earlier in the day. Talk about how he did here in 206 medium.
Yeah, it was him and Wishart that were able to hook up. You know, it's kind of like the race and chase program. These two drivers were able to get nose to tail and get away from the rest of the field. Gabriel led the majority of the race. However, a last lap shuffle cost Wishart a number of positions. That allowed Gabriel to kind of go away to the checkered flag unchallenged in the final few corners to gain another victory for him at the Rock Island Grand Prix.
Yeah, so what is that for him then? Is that 2 for him or 2 or 3?
I think two.
Two for Mick Gabriel. He's had a strong year for sure. So a good win for him over Ostrom, Nielsen, Welsh, and Wishart, as David had mentioned, falling back to P5, 0.2 of a second, the victory for Mick Gabriel. In the 206 Masters class, a bunch of big hitters. Like I won't even say who they are because you're going to talk about it, but I look at the top 5 in the finals, and these are guys that you would not want to race against or would want to learn from and likely get your ass handed to you by. Right? It's just
I was just gonna say they're all drivers that have beat us many times.
Many times. Exactly that. 100%. 10 entries. Defending winner Jeff Scott. He also won back in 2018. Jeff Doley in a winner in 2021. Gary Lawson 2019. 4 straight years for Tony Nielsen when this category got brought in 206 Masters. I qualified second to Tony Nielsen in 2014, and we had the same gear on. But I couldn't, we got smoke coming off the start because we had a taller gear. He was able to get to the front and pull away. I wasn't, and I got caught up in a battle with Jasperson and Scott. So that was a fun year, though. It was a first year for the 206 Masters class back in 2014. David, we talked about Jeff Doley. He won back in 2021. It looks like he was, again, super quick. I think he was on a Margay as well, right?
Yeah, he was on one of the Brava Margates.
So I thought I saw that.
He focused on the regular 206 categories. He was obviously in the heavy categories, I believe, and the King of the Rock as well too. So he focused on that, and it proved to pay off in the 206 Masters class. He won the heat race and was among the leaders throughout the main event on Sunday. Tony Nielsen and Michael Dittmer right there as well too. But Dolien was able to get a last lap move around Dittmer to secure his second victory in the category in 3 years.
Oh, last lap pass to get it done. Good for him. Dittmer ends up in second, 0.146, the margin between first and second. Tony Nielsen ends up in third. Welsh and Matt Payway rounding out the top 5. So there's a bunch of your 206 categories there for you. When we get back after another break in the action, we're going to jump into the Ignite classes. We've got 3 Ignite classes and then Briggs 206 Novice for you after this break.
Are you ready to go from karts to cars? Since 1975, the Skip Barber Racing School has taken great drivers and made them champions. Today, we're proud to welcome the next generation of winners. Make the transition from karts to cars with the Skip Barber Formula Race Series. You'll compete at the most iconic tracks in America. Race weekends include your very own equalized Formula 4 race car, a professional crew, expert instruction, video and data analysis, hospitality, and more. This is the place to fulfill your dream of becoming a champion. Sign up today by calling 866-932-1949 or visit us at skipbarber.com.
Wins in the sport's biggest races and championships in national and regional series all over the country, they're all on Nitro Kart's growing resume. Nitro Kart continues to make its statement as the best, fastest, and winningest cadet chassis on the American market. In 2021, Nitro Kart won the 3 biggest crowns in America in the Microswift division, with Mateo Rosu in the SCUSA Pro Tour and both the Super Nationals and the USPKS titles with Keelan Harvick. At the Super Nats alone, 3 of the top 5 drivers on the podium got there on a Nitro Kart. The results are clear. If you want to win in cadet, get a Nitro Kart and join our team. At Nitro Kart, we're all about driver development. Nick Tucker and the Nitro Crew's racing resumes are extensive, and their passion for helping our kids learn is unparalleled. Racing is about consistent learning, and that's what we're all about here at Nitro Kart. Never wanting to quit, we've continued to extend the reach of our driver development program. In addition to expanding into the junior and senior karting categories, we've also launched Nitro Motorsports, which will field 2 cars this season in the Trans Am by Pirelli series, one being piloted by karting champion Brent Cruz. Not only can we develop your young driver, but we can also provide the platform if a move to cars is in your plan. And our second seat is available. If you're serious about your driver's career, contact us today.
Winning takes top quality equipment, flawless preparation, experienced coaching, and passion. And at Team GFC, we live our passion. Developed by American karting champion Gary Carlton, the GFC chassis has become one of the newest brands to reach the top of the podium in North America. GFC has garnered victories and championships at all levels of the sport since its debut at the end of 2018. Shifter car drivers are at the front of the field in the GT14 frame, with the SS31 a consistent contender in tag and 100cc competition. Team GFC has arrive and drive packages available for all categories, including the mini and micro classes utilizing the GFC RR5 cadet chassis. These young pilots have the opportunity to be part of the Team GFC Young Driver Development Program. Learn from one of the best American karters with 28 years racing at the highest levels of the sport, offering personalized training on and off the track. Follow GFC Karting on Facebook and Instagram, or click over to gfckarting.com to learn more about joining Team GFC. GFC, live your passion. Welcome back here on the EKN Radio Network to another edition of the Debrief, episode 117. Can't believe we've done 117 of these. That's pretty amazing. It is, again, September 11th, about a week on from the Rock Island Grand Prix, this year's Labor Day Classic. And indeed, David Cole was trackside. And these are the categories David was running, and he ran in all 3 of the Ignite Senior and Ignite Masters classes. David, let's get things rolling then. 13 drivers all told in Ignite Senior 1. Riley Scott, the defending race winner. Other victors have been Ashton Wheeler, Evan Stammer, Scott Sketchy Barnes, Jordan Bernlower, Jeff Dolan, who we talked about before the break, Jeremy Remick as well. Scott Barnes, though, came out of the gate. He was pretty strong in these Ignite categories. He qualified, did well, and ended up winning the heat race. Yeah,
Barnes is a former winner, as you said. So he's very comfortable in this category. And Ignite Senior 1, this is a category where we've seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different winners going into this race out of over 7 years. So this was one of those, like, okay, who's going to be that driver that gains a repeat victory? Yeah. So the race started out, I want to say it was the top 5 or 7 that were able to get away and kind of fight for themselves. And Riley Scott, after Gage Kemp led the opening lap, Riley Scott took over and really from there just kind of was able to keep the group behind him as they kept battling for position. Nobody wanted to run second and move up and get on Scott's bumper. So the shuffling continued to happen. Riley continued to put down good laps and really ran unchallenged to be able to score a second straight victory and become the first 2-time winner in this category.
Yeah, Riley Scott with the win. Nielsen second, Barnes, Wheeler, and Vansel rounding up the top 5. David, where'd you end up in this one here?
7th.
7th? What happened?
I'm slow.
You didn't get
8th. So, yeah, the top 6 were away because I was 7th, and I was trying to hang on with the lead group, and they're all just a little bit better than I am, Rob. If you were to put a grade on drivers, the lead group are all A drivers. I'm about a B.
Okay.
So
listen, I get it, bud. I get it. Trust me, I've been there. You try to hold on as best you can. 13 in Ignite Senior 1, 12 in Ignite Senior 2. Scott Barnes able to win both races over the last 2 years, 2021 and 2022. Pistol Pete Vedder winning back in 2019. So Barnes comes in as the defending winner. Looks like Vansel, though, out front in the heat race with Barnes and Wheeler there with him.
Yeah, again, very much the same group of drivers all battling for position. This time, Vansel was able to secure a heat win as he continues to look for his first Rock Island Grand Prix victory. So he thought this year was going to be the year. Unfortunately, it didn't happen that way. Wheeler jumped out to the lead early before Nielsen and Barnes took over, and then a last lap shuffle sent Barnes backwards. Nielsen was able to triumph and be able to score his first victory in this category. But I want to say, I don't know if we added up. We'll add up his results later. But yeah, first victory for him in this category, as Vansel, even though he had fast lap, ended up finishing fourth.
Yeah, Nielsen, Wheeler, Kemp, Vansel, and Barnes rounding out the top 5 there. Moving now to Ignite Masters, 10 entries. Not a massive group for the Ignite Masters class, but 10 in total, still with some good names there. Tony Nielsen comes in as the defending race winner. In fact, he won in 22, 21, and 19 as well. Before that, it was Pete Vetter getting the victories there. David, this was kind of your category to focus on in the heat race. Tony Nielsen got the race win over Scott, Barnes, Wicker, and Dirks. How things shake down for you in the heat race before we move into the final?
Yeah, a guy spun right in front of me. I had nowhere to go. So I ended up finishing. I don't even know where I started. Fourth. I started fourth. Yeah, I ended up finishing 6th as I was able to get a couple drivers before the checkered flag. But yeah, a guy spun in front of me in the right hander. He literally just the rear end came around on him. And I had Sketchy Barnes coming to the inside of me already. I had nowhere to go, so I just followed him into the wall. Luckily, we were able to continue on. No heavy damage, but yeah, did not help my heat race results there. So started in the back, and I was last basically going into turn 1 because they went 4 wide, and I had nowhere to go. So I basically was last at the start of the main event.
So main event a little better for you. We'll talk about the fact that Tony Nielsen went wire to wire, but with a fantastic fight with Riley Scott, or rather with
Jeff Scott.
Jeff Scott, help me out. Thank you. I will not confirm or deny that I had race monitor opening while I was announcing a race in Portland. So let's just say that.
We cannot confirm or deny.
So confirm or deny that I was double focusing on that one. Let's talk about the main event, David. Again, number 1, the battle between Tony Nielsen and Jeff Scott. I always love when these guys go at it. How did things play out for both of those drivers going forward here?
Yeah, I guess talking with them, Nielsen led the entire race, and Jeff Scott was right there. Sketchy Barnes sitting there in third. With basically came down to the last lap. They were side by side, I guess. Turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, and turn 4.
No way.
And then they went into 5, and Scott was on the outside, and I guess Nielsen just gave him a little bit of a shove, just enough to kind of put Scott into the barriers. So unfortunate for Jeff Scott, ending his race in the barriers, losing a possible victory, as Nielsen was able to continue on with Sketchy Barnes right there, only 67ths back at the line.
Who finished third?
Well, that wreck certainly helped me move up. I was able to fight my way up into the 4th spot. Like I said, I was basically last as we came around for the first time, or sitting 8th, I guess. Looking at the lap chart, I was one driver kind of just held back and didn't really do anything. So I had to fight my way through these guys. I knew I was quicker than them. But so it was just a matter of getting in front of them and then getting away and trying not to put myself in the wall. So yeah, not enough to run with the fast guys. They were certainly really quick. Just again, they were A drivers. I'm a B driver. So
I hear you, bud. Tony Nielsen with the win, 67 thousandths of a second over Sketchy Barnes. David Cole with the best career Howden Media Group finish, finishing P3 at the Rock Island Grand Prix. Andrew Coulter coming home in the 4th spot. Scott, as we know, the DNF after the issue in turn number 5. David, we mentioned earlier about Tony Nielsen's career wins. Let's take the opportunity now to talk about how many wins this guy has at the Rock.
Yeah, with the 2 victories here this year, he's brought his total up to 25 career victories at the Rock Island Grand Prix, and that begins back in 2006. So he's been winning there a number of times. Certainly the one time he picked up 6 Rock trophies, so that was probably one of the more memorable weekends. But that puts him now only 3 behind the Emperor, Gary Lawson, who has a total of 28 victories at Rock Island Grand Prix.
Wow. Let's cap off this segment before we take a quick break and go into the last bit of the race report here. So long as we know, lots of categories on the docket here. The Briggs 206 novice class, David, 9 entries in total. Give us a little bit of an overview of what this class is all about.
Yeah, this category is for anybody who's new to the Rock Island Grand Prix or haven't won at the Rock Island Grand Prix. So anybody who's been there before, like I could have entered, I didn't want to. I wanted to focus on the Ignite program because obviously different tire would have been a little more work than we needed, and probably one more session each round than I needed. So it's a great opportunity. This could be a class to kind of help grow and build that, and again, kind of transition new drivers into racing at the Rock Island Grand Prix. Then they don't have to run all the regular categories that they have to compete against the Tony Nielsen's, the Riley Scotts, the Jeff Scotts, the Dittmers, the Welshes, and all of them. So
Hayways, you name it.
So this one, Jerry Fandery, who we saw quick in the heavy category earlier in the day, he was actually able to win the heat race, but that wreck in the opening main event of the day took him out. He was not able to, this was third class in the order, so not enough time to get repairs in.
Ouch.
And was unable to start the main event. So that allowed Jeremiah Davis, who finished second in the heat race. We know Jeremiah from, he's been on our face-to-face shows about the Rock Island Grand Prix before, and Quincy Grand Prix as well. He led the first 14 laps of the main event. Unfortunately, fighting with Huntington Bolton, contact, I believe it was turn one barriers that we heard from the start finish line, and Davis was unable to come back around after contact with a wall, and that put Bolton out in the front and earning his first Rock Island Grand Prix victory, and joining now an exclusive club of father and son drivers who have won at the Rock Island Grand Prix. Of course, Huntington is the son of Todd Bolton, who has won a number of Rock Island Grand Prix.
That's very cool. So Bolton with the win. They were well out front, he and Davis. Don Newman ends up in the second. Eicher Jr., Rapp, and Davis rounding out the top 5 in that category. 9 total in it. But again, Huntington Bolton, now a race winner at the Rock Island Grand Prix, will not be eligible for Briggs 206 Novice in 2024. Time to go up against the big dogs. Another break in the action. We get back 100cc Senior, Yamaha Super Can Heavy, Open Shifter Masters, and Open Shifter to wrap up the race report of this year's Rock Island Grand Prix. It's a multi-time world champion, and it's a SuperKarts USA Super Nationals winner. It is SodiKart. And starting in 2023, the Sodi brand has found a new home here in the U.S. Sodi Racing USA is the new exclusive importer of the SodiKart chassis line under the karting distribution banner, led by industry veteran Terry Germanovich. The French manufacturer SodiKart is a leader within the karting industry, offering a wide range of products and services. The Sodi Racing chassis line offers product in classes from Mini to KZ, all based on years of development and championship seasons around the world. Sodi Racing USA has already begun establishing its dealer network, working with the Karting Collective on the West Coast, and recently signing PK Sport to serve as a dealer and the official race team on the East Coast. Visit Sodi-Racing-USA.com to learn more about the SodiKart chassis line, or call 954-634-5111 to become part of the Sodi Racing USA network today. SodiKart, the world leader in the karting industry. Made in the USA. It's not just a statement, it's the mission at Factory Karts of America. Led by 4-time Supernats champion Billy Musgrave, Factory Karts manufactures their frames completely in-house at the Riverside, California facility. Built and designed from the ground up specifically for the American karting market, Factory Karts brings new innovations and solutions that are long overdue. Factory Karts bring together the highest quality materials to produce a high-performance, long-lasting kart that has been designed and perfected from 3 years of development, with a focus for a big push across North America in 2023. No other karting manufacturer stands behind its product like Factory Karts does, providing a 2-year warranty on all their frames. Do you remember when American made meant innovative, original, stronger, faster, and just plain better? Well, American made is back. Contact Factory Carts today to join the American-made movement. Learn more by visiting factorycarts.com or email Billy anytime at info@factorycarts.com. History, success, family. Those are the three words that can describe Comet Kart Sales, one of the longest tenured karting businesses in the United States. The family-owned operation located just outside of Indianapolis has provided carts, parts, and services for thousands of racers in the near 6 decades of business. Their online store features everything you need, continually adding new parts to their product line. From full karting packages, new engines, spare or replacement parts, and safety gear, find it all at CometKartSales.com. Their Comet Racing Engine service has won multiple major events and championships over decades of karting and continues to offer the best trackside service in the industry, specializing in IAME X30, IAME Swift, and other 2-cycle power plants. Make sure to head to CometKartSales.com or call them at 317-462-3413 to be part of the Comet Kart Sales family today. We are back for the final segment here of the race report of this episode of the Debrief, as the Rock Island Grand Prix, which took place just about a week and a half ago at Rock Island on Labor Day weekend. David Cole giving us a full breakdown here of all the action. David, let's go to the 100cc senior class. 10 entries in total. Defending winner Justin Wishart was in the race, as was Chase Jones. He won back in 2021. Jones out of the gate strongly, though, winning over his teammate Race Liberante in the heat race.
Yeah, and he already had the Rock trophy from the King of the Rock category that was earlier in the day. So this category actually ran after the King of the Rock. So made for this was kind of just a to go for the Rock. No crown in this category. And again, it was the Race versus Chase show. They were able to push away in the main event and put on another great final race and final lap as they went back and forth side by side over and over again. And Liberante this time was able to make a move on Jones that stuck, and he was able to cross the line first. Officials were actually looking at penalizing Race for a maneuver. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but Chase Jones pulled up and said, no, that would have done the same thing. And so officials allowed it to pass, and Race Liberante was then deemed the winner.
Interesting. Well, good for Chase on that one. Again, multiple lean changes, as you said, throughout that race. Good to see those guys going back and forth. Liberante winning by just under a second from Jones, Drake in third, Moore fourth, and Pinozo rounding out the top 5. 6 entries in the Yamaha Super Can Heavy class. Your defending winner, Drake Ostrom. Many big-name winners in years past: Gage Rucker, Morgan Schuler, Tim Getch, Tony Nielsen, Tony Jump, a 2-time winner. Multiple wins for Michael Dittmer in years past. Gary Lawson's got a couple of those Yamaha Super Can Heavy victories as part of his 28 wins at the Rock Island Grand Prix. Davis, give us a run on how things shook down in this Yamaha Super Can Heavy class.
Yeah, adding his name to that long list of former winners is Charlie Moore. Charlie was really the driver to beat all weekend long. Drove away to a 7-second victory in the 10-lap heat race on Saturday. And then on Sunday, extended it to 6 seconds after 15 laps. Blake Korth was right there at the beginning, but just wasn't able to hold on to the pace in the second half of the race. So that allowed Moore to go on to win with a wire-to-wire victory.
Yeah, good for him. Moore with the victory. Korth, Wells, Graham, and Proctor rounding out the top 5 for Yamaha Super Can Heavy. Again, 5 entries in the Open Shifter Masters class. Defending winner Scott Barnes in the fight once again. Again, look at some of the names. It really is kind of a who's who to a certain extent of Masters shifter racing over the years. Joe Rook winning in 2014. Barnes has won multiple times. Lance Lane, another one of the father-son duos that has done so well at Rock Island. Jordan Musser, a former King of the Streets winner multi-time, also won Open Masters shifter. Anthony Honeywell, the Honey Badger. Kurt Mathewson, Chris Enderline, Colin Lynn, the Texas Tornado. Man, you keep going back to Wojtek Birdsey, Dan Rogue, John Kinder. How about Bonner Moulton in there? A couple of wins, David, the guy out of Salt Lake City, Utah, who has run in all 25 SCUSA Super Nationals, was a winner back in the early part of the 2000s.
Yeah, I haven't seen Bonner. We're gonna have to send a message to him to make sure he's racing Super Nationals this year.
That's true. That's true. 26 for him. That's right.
Yeah. So this one was all Sketchy Barnes. Joe Rook was there, just not quite able to keep up pace with what Sketchy was able to lay down. Rook actually had a damaged chassis, I think, on the first practice session on Saturday. Ran over something, either hit the manhole cover just wrong, and it just bent. It actually ripped the motor mount butterflies completely off the chassis and kind of damaged the engine as well too. So he had to go to a backup on that and run with kind of a bent chassis underneath the engine mount area. So we called it his off-road Maranello, because it wasn't the standard Maranello that he does run at the Stars Championship Series. So that's something to think about. You know, one thing that Race and Chase were talking about, and during their victory speeches at the award ceremony Sunday night, is the carts they ran were basically like old carts that customers didn't have anymore or didn't want anymore.
Okay.
You know, they basically went through what they called kind of the junkyard and grabbed some chassis, you know, made sure they were straightened out enough. And I think that's something we can kind of maybe promote a little bit more is, hey, that cart that's sitting there, that you can run that at Rock Island Grand Prix.
That's
it
true.
It doesn't have to be that brand new cart, you know, that's shiny, no scratches on it, etc. Just put something together that can be straightened out and put a motor on it and go have some fun.
That's it. Have some fun with this deal.
So Barnes was able to dominate this category, leading wire to wire. Actually, Joe took the lead early, got the whole shot, I think, on Sketchy there at the start of the race, but Barnes was just too quick over the pace of the main event, and he was able to earn his fourth victory in this category.
Rook, as you talked about, finishing in second. Hahn and Williams third and fourth. Who's this guy back in P5? Riggins.
Yeah, some 77-year-old guy that was just out there making laps, enjoying, having a good time. He tried to pull off a donut, got probably kind of like a half donut, maybe, maybe one that was already eaten.
I love it. That's funny.
Terry Riggins enjoying his time. He's just, he said he's just out there making laps, having fun, hoping not to get in the way of the fast guys.
That's amazing. 77 years young, Terry Riggins, race director, and getting out there in the open shifter masters class. How awesome is that? I love it. That's so amazing.
I won't be able to do that. I can tell you that.
That's the challenge, David. You got to get it done. I'll be 87 years old. You can be 77 and we'll go at it.
Yeah, you're not making it. Well, yeah. Well,
dude, I'm still going here now.
And shifter, you think? I don't know.
Maybe not shifter.
I've yet to run a shifter there. I think if they ever repave it, then maybe I'll do shifter.
I had so much fun running the shifter back when I was your age.
Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, my age. Yeah. You mean younger? Because that was 2003, not 20.
I was 35 then.
Okay, there we go. Let's set the record straight now.
All right. 5 entries in the open shifter category. Let's jump into open shifter to cap off this edition of the race report. Andrew Bedozo, already talked a lot about Bedozo, what he was able to do in the King of the Streets. But let's talk about how things played out here at open shifter. He's the defending winner. Race Liberante's won before. A number of drivers, Joey Hand as well, AJ Whistler, Rudolph, have all won here in the open shifter class. Scott Barnes was good though in the Masters class. Was he as good at open shifter as well?
Yeah, just a little bit better. He had Bedozo to run with, so it kind of amped him up a little bit more. In the main event, they were 1-2. It looked like Bedozo was kind of just waiting and buying his time. He made a move, took the lead, but Barnes responded back and was just a little bit better there in the final run and was able to score the victory over the King of the Streets winner.
Ah, it's huge for Barnes. Fill me on there. So Ryan Bjerke, was he running a rock? What was he running?
A Honda. He actually had a Honda. So they were trying to do a rock Honda category. They still provided a rock trophy for that category.
Okay.
He was the only entry in it, as the rest of the drivers did have KZ motors. So, So again, they're trying to entice people to come back and race it. So whatever you have. And so he was the lone driver with that. Pinozzo had a DNF. I want to say a flat tire or something in the, I think the axle might've shifted over or something like that. And then Riley Scott had a mechanical as well too. One thing about Riley Scott during the King of the Rock 206 heat race on Saturday, he was involved in the one red flag that we did have on the weekend and hurt his shoulder. They were going to transport him. Eventually, they decided not to. And, thinking possible shoulder separation, he kind of just manned through it, went back out racing later that day and throughout the weekend. And as we said, won one of the Ignite races, tried to do the shifter, but mechanical took him out of that. So Riley Scott, again, he's just a little bit crazy. You got to, I mean, no, there's no doubt about it, because, to have what seemed to be a shoulder separation, not sure yet. So we'll have to message him and get the update on his medical condition. But he powered through the pain and kept going through and raced a number of categories. So
Cowboy up.
Yeah, cowboy up. That's well exactly it. Yeah.
Impressive. For Scott Barnes, that is now 8 Rock Island Grand Prix wins for the driver from Bermuda, now tied with Todd Bolton and Alan Rudolph. So definitely a solid group there for Skitchy Barnes, as again represented Bermuda. I really remember the first time he came over when I first met him.
That's an interesting trio: Scott Barnes, Todd Bolton, Alan Rudolph.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's an interesting trio.
True enough.
you think about it.
True enough. All right, folks. Final break. When we get back, David will wrap things up, and we'll look at the EKN Trackside Live race calendar. Is IndyCar your dream? If it is, for 2023 and beyond, the path from karting to IndyCar has gotten even clearer. It's time to look into the new USF Juniors program and the brand new Tatis JR23. As the first step of the newly rebranded USF Pro Championships presented by Cooper Tires, the USF Junior Series will feature a 6-event, 16-race schedule to train racers for the move into the USF 2000 Championship presented by Cooper Tires. The USF Juniors champion will win a scholarship worth over $248,000, and the total prize fund will exceed $330,000. The series will also debut the new Tatis JR23 race car in 2023, which is a development version of the USF 22 used in USF 2000. It's the ideal entry point for career-minded karters moving on to the car racing ladder. Safety is always front and center in the mind of the series promoters, and the USF Juniors car features a halo, and the races are supported by members of the AMR IndyCar safety team. If IndyCar is your goal, USF Juniors is the starting line. For more information, visit www.usfjuniors.com and follow USF Juniors on social media. Fast, fair, and fun. Ignite Karting offers you all of that at an affordable price. Ignite Karting utilizes the spec Margay Ignite K3 with a Briggs & Stratton 206 engine and a Hoosier R80 tire. Everyone in the junior, senior, and masters classes compete on the same Ignite K3 chassis, which puts all the emphasis squarely on driver development. Additionally, Ignite Karting is accessible at the local, regional, and national level. Special events for the 2023 season include the Ignite Majors, which begins with the annual trip to the Daytona International Speedway as part of the WKA Daytona Kart Week as part of both the sprint and road racing events. Those in the Midwest can enjoy the regionally based Ignite Challenge, which just finished up a record-setting season in 2022. Local club programs have also been established in other states all across the country, from Idaho to Texas, Nebraska to New York, with more tracks and clubs joining the Ignite Karting program. Be part of fast fun and great memories with Margay Racing at an Ignite track near you. All information on Ignite events and Ignite Kart packages, including dealers in your area, are available at ignitekarting.com. Get off the couch and out onto the track in 2023. Ignite Karting. Fuel your passion. Acceleration Kart Racing is your first and only stop on the internet for karts, parts, and the safety gear you need to get you on the track. Visit shopakr.com for a great selection of karting equipment on a user-friendly website. Acceleration Kart Racing has aligned itself with many of the top manufacturers and distributors in the sport to ensure all the latest equipment is available to you, the racer. With over 20 years in business and customer support available 6 days a week, you can be confident about getting the right parts at the right price when you need them. Be sure to visit shopakr.com today or stop by their headquarters in Las Vegas. Make sure to follow Acceleration Kart Racing on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest specials and new arrivals. We are back. Time to wrap up this edition of the EKN Debrief, episode number 117. Rob Howden alongside David Cole. It's been a long one, a lot of categories at Rock Island. But again, wrapping up another report from the Labor Day Classic. David, let's give you the opportunity to wrap things up as well. What's your overall feel on kind of wrap up the event and the report itself?
Yeah, as I said earlier, spectators on Saturday seemed a little bit low, but it looked like there was a lot more people there on Sunday. Hopefully it was part of the weather. It was great weather throughout the weekend. So that certainly helped. And again, just kind of got to try and keep continuing to build up that spectator volume and getting people to Rock Island Grand Prix and the Rock Island area over Labor Day weekend. Obviously, being a holiday weekend and as nice as the weather was, there's probably people going out to the lake and going boating and doing other things. But again, hopefully they'll continue to build up the what's the word I'm looking for?
Excitement.
The
awareness.
excitement, yes, the awareness, and just a reason to go to the Rock Island Grand
What's
Prix.
the draw, right? What's the overall
yeah.
draw for sure? And again, coming to watch the karting is fun, watch the race itself, but like you said, you want to have more on the docket when you're at the racetrack. I think that's what you're coming with.
Yeah, and thankfully, we had good weather. As I said, it was pretty sunny out, so everybody had to stay hydrated. So, including the workers, everybody there that were there from, 7 a.m. till, 6 p.m. So, it was, thankfully they don't have to battle rain. So that's a good part. So just staying hydrated and out of the sun and keeping in the shade as much as possible. That was certainly a battle. And again, one thing to wrap up the event, we always have the awards ceremony at the end of the day on Sunday at the Holiday Inn. And they say it over and over every year. Hey, if you have time, go help out and do track teardown, because again, the city streets have to be open come, I think it's either 7 a.m. Monday morning or maybe even 6 a.m. Monday morning. And, when you look at the facility or the racetrack itself, I mean, you're looking at 0.6 of a mile racetrack plus the side streets that they have to close off for pit pass area and paddock area and stuff like that. So this year there was a lot of camaraderie among the racers that were there that were going to help and chip in. Race Liberance, Chase Jones, Scott Barnes, they all chipped in money for drinks for afterwards. Unfortunately, it ended up being 4 hours long that we were out trackside helping with the teardown process. And this was my first time being part of it. I'd never thought about doing it, but everybody was going to be there. So I stepped down and, went shirtless and went on and did that.
Yeah, I saw the shirtless shot. That was impressive. But Dave, Roger Ruther had a post on Facebook, I think it was late last week, or maybe it was even this weekend, talk about the fact that it's just so hard nowadays to get the volunteer workers that they've had in years past, right? They've always had volunteer workers who would come out. They would make even a donation to whatever group brought the volunteer workers, whether it was a band from school, football team, whatever it may be. But there's people don't want to do that anymore. They don't want to even volunteer to get money for their own sport, whatever they're doing, right? So they're struggling to find the volunteer workers, and it's great to see some of the racers and teams step in to make it happen.
Yeah, that was what boiled down to. They had nobody. I think they had a group that were there right when the track closed for a couple of hours to kind of help with, the barriers and getting that process in. But you also had all the fencing that had to come down. So they had to roll all the fencing, get all the sandbags, get all the barrels that hold the fencing in place, and getting all the off the racetrack and off the area into where they corral it all. So that was certainly an interesting process. It seems to be an easy process, especially if you have the numbers to do it. And thankfully there were a number of people there: the Dittmer family, the Nielsen family, all the Scheer family as well too. Rap family, they do it every year as well. So there was a lot of local families that were there, but you also had some people from MPG Motorsports, Magic Kart, and some others that were there, pitching in, had some music, had some beers. It was, we made it as fun as we could.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the 4 hours made it a little bit too long. So it's just a lot of work. But so hopefully they'll try and streamline that process. I mean, again, even if you have to, maybe stick, set up to where one category has this corner, one category has this corner, something just to kind of help get the process moving along a little bit quicker. But yeah, certainly as Roger says, there's got to be a way to either other programs or, I look at, maybe the National Guard or something like that, something, where there's actual people who physically can handle this work rather than, high school students who, I have a 15-year-old and he's spoiled little brat. So, I mean, let's face it, there's just that work ethic, we're seeing it across the country and everything like that. So it's tough to get. So yeah, hopefully, they got a year to plan it and try maybe hopefully getting a cleanup crew that, they can help. It could be a win-win for both the Rock Island Grand Prix and whoever they partner up with.
Exactly that. All right, let's cap off this edition of the Debrief because we've got races coming. There's another 3 races. David he was kind of home for a bit over the summer. We're loading David up on events that he's got to go to here over the next month. There's a lot coming. So let's have a look at the EKN Trackside Live Race Calendar presented by Odenthal Racing Products. Motor mounts are critical to producing 100% of the power your engine has and getting it on the podium each and every time. Odenthal Race Products provides the best in the karting market today. Odenthal Racing Products is a family-owned and operated business with decades of karting experience, providing products with unmatched quality and value for the karting market. Check out their Pro Series mount for 2-cycle engines and their 4-cycle Easy Set for the Briggs & Stratton 206 power plant. Head to odenthalracing.com and find a dealer near you. Odenthal Racing Products, made in the USA. All right, David, we have essentially 3 races over the next 4 weekends. You and I are hitting the road here on Thursday. We're heading back down to Newcastle Motorsport Park once again, back-to-back events at Newcastle. A little gap in the between, but this coming weekend, September 15th, 16th, 17th, time to lock down the Team USA drivers for the Race Rotax program as they'll have their U.S. Trophy final this coming weekend.
Yeah, not just Team USA, but international competitors. I think I saw one from Australia coming over to race. You're going to have some Canadians coming down to race for sure. Probably some Central American, South American drivers. So it's shaping up to be a big one. Hopefully they'll get over that 100 driver mark in the 5 categories. So that'll be about a 25 kart average per field. Really excited to see what this year's event has.
Agreed. Yeah, we had a really good time last year with Justin Stefani and the whole J3 competition crew. They put on a really tidy show. The racing was amazing. It's Newcastle, but Rotax racing is always a lot of fun to watch. And I really enjoyed that weekend we had last year. Henry Beaudet and I will be on the broadcast. We're going to be on Kart Chaser as well. Xander Clemens will have the Kart Chaser crew there. So all live coverage on Kart Chaser. But David, you and I are going to go back to some of the stuff we used to do in the past as well. We're going to do probably such an EKN live debrief show on Facebook and YouTube, right? Is that the plan?
Yeah, we're going to do that Friday night and Saturday night for sure. We'll see how things go on Sunday if we ended up doing one there. But yeah, do a little debrief. I think it's going to be you and Henry. I think I'm going to be doing the production side of things to make sure things run smooth. So again, we'll have a meeting on that come Friday morning when we get down there.
Love it.
But yeah, really looking forward to it. Again, it was, there's something different about the Rotax. It's a different smell. It's a different feel. We'll drive a DD2. They're actually going to do DD2 dry.
I've never driven one.
So I've never driven one as well too. So that'll be interesting. And again, just for people to kind of test and see what it's like. Again, and then they'll have the tire changing contest as well too, one of the nights. So a lot's planned for what will be a busy 3-day event at Newcastle, but fun factors certainly on the schedule. And
be ready for all the stuff we have coming as we normally do, folks, with our EKN Trackside Live races. Right, we're going to have the Outlap podcast. David Loud recording that on Tuesday to get ready to go for the weekend. We'll have the full preview. David will be trackside. It'll be a full EKN Trackside program for us that weekend. 2 weekends later, though, David, a little bit different, as you and I are both going to be strapping on the helmets. Cup Karts North America has their Grand National 7, the 7th edition of the CKNA Grand Nationals program, which has absolutely exploded. Last year was the biggest one they've ever had. Again, back at Newcastle Motorsports Park again. David, this one coming up right now, I think I just saw, what was it, 345 entries they were pitching out there today or more?
No. 385. So it's already matched last year's total for the event. So we're pre-entries are already ahead, or have already matched what we had total. So the record total last year has already been surpassed just in pre-entries.
Wow, that's amazing. So looking forward to that one, of course. David, as we mentioned earlier, running with the CRG crew. David, rolling that back up again. I'll be back with the guys on the Coyotes with Precision Performance Karting, John Seglum and Brandon Jarsakrak. So looking forward to that as well. You fired up to give another shot at the FS4?
Yeah, fifth time is a charm, right? No, they've done some changes to it this year. You know, Ryan Sprowski has been working hard with LSR Motorsports and CRG Nordam. Actually did a test on Saturday at Michiana Raceway Park, kind of snuck out and
I saw that.
Didn't let anybody know about that. So kind of stealth mode on that, just to, again, try and be better prepared. I think, the track time at Rock Island, getting sessions this past weekend, getting in a DD2 this weekend, I think just being in the seat will overall help me.
This will be the best you've ever been prepared, David.
I'm not a sprint racer. I'm a road racer, so I'm trying to adapt. So hopefully the fifth time is a charm. Again, top 10, top 5 is where is the goal. And we'll see where we shake out. But really what it boils down to is beat Rob Howden. I mean,
that's it. Hashtag beat David Cole. We are, yes, folks, we are actually going to go head to head against each other this year. David convinced me. Actually, it wasn't even David that convinced me. I think you said that Brandon Jarsakrak just said I was 100% running both classes.
Well, I kind of coerced him into it, but I think he was ahead. He was already into it before I even said anything.
So I'm running Masters and Legends. You're running Senior Heavy and Masters. That's the key?
Yeah, I'm not quite old enough for Legends yet, so
a long way away to get to the Legends, bro.
6 years, bro.
How old are you right now?
44.
Oh, it is 6 years. Well, all right. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, I'll be retired by then.
Well, hopefully I'll put you in retirement this weekend.
Oh, listen, David, sooner or later you have to beat me. Sooner or later. Like, come on.
I know. It's sad.
It is sad.
But it's the racing luck. I mean, there's guys who never won the Daytona 500 that are among the greats. There's guys who've never won the Indy 500 who are among the greats.
I agree. It's true. I think you're going to be good I think I'm going to have to really step up my game to be able to challenge this year, but I'm looking forward to the challenge for sure.
Yeah, you've been working out, so at least you got that.
I mean, that's at least there. So from there, David will wrap things up. We'll cap off at Newcastle, and David, you'll be home for only a couple of days. We'll crank out a debrief from the event. We'll then do an outlap because you got to go right back on the Thursday down to Trackhouse Motorplex to cap off this year's United States Pro Kart Series, the finale for the USPKS, October 6th to the 8th, Carolina Grand Prix. That I would expect is going to be a barn burner big time in that category, that track rather, and that series. Man, it's going to be a fantastic finale.
Yeah, the fifth round, everything boils up to that event. I think there's a couple championships already decided, if not 3. So the new points format, if you win a lot, it's certainly going to help you because there's not much more people can do over 5 race rounds. So aside from that, the racing is going to be fantastic because that's what Trackhouse Motorplex always produces. You're going to have a number of local racers that are going to be there, so that bumps up the numbers. So it'll probably be a little bit bigger than what we saw at Motorsports Country Club, and really the finale race of the year before everybody starts turning the pages towards Vegas.
Yeah, indeed that. It'll wrap things up again. As I said, David will cap things off in October at Trackhouse for the finale for the USPKS. That is the EKN Trackside Live Race Calendar. Again, big thank you, as always, to all our segment sponsors for that one, of course, the Odenthal Racing Products. And, of course, the show presenter for today, DID Chain. Thank you so much, folks, for joining us. We do appreciate it. Let's cap things off here. From episode 117 of our EKN Debrief, David Cole has given us a full rundown of the Rock Island Grand Prix. We appreciate you tuning in. Lots more podcasts coming. The more races we have, the more podcasts we have, of course. And we'll have another one coming this week, outlap for the Race Rotex U.S. Trophy Final. On behalf of David Cole, my name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.